What exactly are you looking for? One of the new visitors to Maharaj was an American, not more than 25 or so, his head shaven, a strapping, tall, young man, well over 6 feet, and proportionately broad frame, with a thin, longish face, chiseled features, and wearing the saffron colored robes of one of the many religious sects in India. He was a wandering monk and had travelled widely over most of the northern India during the last year or two. He earlier had the usual disciplinary training for about 3 years. In answer to a query by Maharaj whether he had found what he was looking for, he laughed and said he had started having doubts if he could ever find it by merely wandering about. And indeed, he now wondered if he had not been walking away from it. He then said he recently came across a copy of I Am That, and after reading it had an unusually sharp sensation of having arrived, especially when he saw the frontispiece picture of Maharaj. When he looked into the eyes of Maharaj, he added, he could not take his gaze off the portrait for a long time. He felt he had to visit him, pay his respects, and sit at his feet. Maharaj, what is it that you really want? Are you clear about it? Are you looking for God? What exactly are you looking for? Visitor, somehow I have always known and felt deeply that nothing offered by life in this world would satisfy me because it is all so transitory. What exactly do I want? Well, I want to reach reality. That is what I want. Maharaj, shaking with silent laughter. If you could only realize how funny that is. I want to reach reality. Who is this I who wants to reach reality? Is this body complex, this psychosomatic apparatus that wants to reach reality? And is he sure that reality is agreeable to accept him? Also, how will this I reach reality? By taking a high jump or a long jump or perhaps by a rocket? Or is it through a mental leap that this reality is going to be reached? And finally, what exactly do you mean by the reality that you want to reach? Visitor, laughing. Now that you put it this way, it does seem funny, or should I perhaps say tragic. Maharaj, who is it that listens to these words, whether funny or tragic? Visitor, me, I, the one who is sitting here, I am listening to these words and also speaking to you. Maharaj, the respective senses, with the aid of the prana, the vital breath, the life force, do the actual work. But is there not something, call it your sense of presence, without which none of your senses would be able to cognize anything? What is it that gives sentience to a sentient being? Visitor, yes, if I were not conscious, my senses would not work. Maharaj, understand then that it is this conscious presence that you are so long as the body is there. Once your body is gone, along with the vital breath, consciousness also will leave. Only that which was prior to the appearance of this body come consciousness, the absolute, the ever present, is your true identity. That is what we all really are. That is reality. It is here and now. Where is the question of anyone reaching for it? Now tell me, what were you before your birth? In that state, were there any needs, wants, desires, even the desire for reality? or freedom or liberation. In fact, that is your original true state or true nature, a state of wholeness, of holiness, of absolute presence and relative absence. A reflection of that state is consciousness, I amness, or being. But the reflection of the sun is not the sun. This conscious presence is what you are, not the body which is merely the habitation for consciousness in its manifestation. When the body dies, consciousness is released out of the body and you are no longer even the conscious presence, because then there is no longer any relative presence. You are then in the original absolute awareness. A relative absence means absolute presence, which means without consciousness of being present. The desire for freedom, which arises in the heart of the seeker in initial stages, gradually disappears. He realizes he himself is what he has been seeking. The persistence of this desire for freedom implies two blocks. The first block is the assumption of the presence and continuance of an entity wanting freedom. Whereas for a phenomenal object, there can be no question of freedom because an object doesn't have any independent existence at all. The second block is that this desire for freedom is based on the desire to capture the reality at the mind level, which means trying to capture the unknown and unknowable within the parameters of the known. It cannot be done. Visitor, for what reason is this sadhana done then? For what reason is this practice done then? Maharaj, here again, doing sadhana or practice means assuming the existence of a phantom. Who is it to do sadhana and for what purpose? Is it not enough to see false as false? The entity you think you are is false. You are the reality, not the entity you think you are. Once it is understood, or rather recognized intuitively, that an entity is purely a conceptual notion, what remains is merely a reintegration, a yoga in universality. Nothing remains to be done because there is no one to do it. And more important, no one to abstain from doing it either. What remains is pure, non-volitional being lived, because relatively we are only puppets in a dream world being manipulated in the original dream. It is up to the individual dreamer to awaken from his personal dream. And this recognition is itself the awakening. The young American who had heard the Maharaj with rapt attention bowed before him and said, Sir, your words have swept away all my mental debris. Now I know what reality is. I know, I recognize, I am the reality. I know, I recognize, I am the reality.